Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. A bit of a side note, I do apologize beforehand if I sound exhausted. It's because I am. I had the worst night of sleep in my entire life. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. US Secretary of State Michael Pompeo has said he believes that cryptocurrencies should be regulated in the same way as financial institutions. In an interview with CNBC's Squawk Box on Tuesday, Pompeo was asked how best to regulate Facebook's Libra or Bitcoin. He responded by saying, and I do quote, "My sense is this. We should use the same framework that we use to regulate all other electronic financial transactions today. That's essentially what these are. These are monies moving through markets, or in some case, disintermediated transactions," end quote. The same rules that apply to transactions flowing through SWIFT or flowing through our financial institutions ought to apply to those transactions as well, Pompeo explained. I concede it will be difficult to do. During the discussion that covered a range of issues from the Hong Kong protests to state-run propaganda farms using Twitter and Facebook, the Trump advisor also addressed the use of pseudo-anonymous cryptocurrencies in the funding of terrorism and money laundering. He argued that if such private transactions become the norm, it would decrease the security for the world if that's the direction we travel in, end quote. Without reading anymore, because it does continue to go on, they go more into the actual other discussions that he was actually having. We're getting a lot of talk from, I don't want to use the term state leaders, but, heads of state, people who are heads in politics, who are constantly talking about that they believe that the way to regulate cryptocurrencies is to simply put them in the same exact box as we would SWIFT. Part of the issue is, and I still wonder myself to this day exactly how this is going to work out for them, because we know that that's not how it works. Just because you integrate something into your system doesn't mean that you're able to explicitly see where all these transactions end up going. Here's the actual, not article, where is it? It's not going to pop up. There we go. Here's the actual interview on CNBC. It's a video. Obviously can't show it. Apparently it's like 16 minutes long. My goodness. What I have been seeing is an increase, and I don't talk about them on the channel because I think it's non-important to discuss things like this on the channel, but I have been seeing an uptick myself, at least from my perspective when I'm looking at the news, of world leaders talking about cryptocurrency in a negative light. Once again, I don't expect them to have the greatest of things to say about the cryptocurrency space, especially as it's a space that they cannot themselves regulate. But there's a lot of news about, for those of you who are not looking at the screen, it says 2 thieves caught on tape stealing Bitcoin ATM in the US. This is happening all over the place. I wonder why there's such an uptick in the amount of people, especially as the Bitcoin's price hasn't really been skyrocketing. If Bitcoin's price was around $38,000 at this point and had gotten in around a good 2, 3, 4 weeks time, I think I'd understand. I mean, to be fair, I understand wanting to theft something. That's not a saying, like to steal something when, each Bitcoin is 10,000. I totally get that, but there's a really weird uptick in the amount of thefts that we're seeing, or rather, I think that they may have always been there in some capacity, but we're definitely seeing a lot more of them mentioned on the news. I'm not sure if this is just another way to convey negative sentiment towards the cryptocurrency space, but I also think it's kind of weird that we're also seeing an uptick in the amount of politicians around the world who are now also openly coming out talking about how they think cryptocurrency should be viewed, or how they should be regulated, or exactly under what framework they should be put under. It's impossible to put cryptocurrencies under the same exact thing as SWIFT or something similar to SWIFT, which is what we saw, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Was it the Japanese government? It was some government who decided to create their own network that would be similar to SWIFT, but cryptocurrencies would flow through it. And people were asking exactly how they planned on doing this. And I think even up to this point, they still have no idea, because you can't do it. You can have things having to flow through you as a third party, and therefore you'd be able to see where some of the transactions are going. But you can't force the blockchain onto a system, so therefore then you can get to see everything that's happening. Kind of fascinating. I wonder exactly how they're going to work things out. It also comes down to the discussion, once again, that we bring up every now and again about private transactions on Bitcoin, the soon-to-be private transactions on top of Litecoin, the one day, maybe in the next 6 years, implemented private transactions on top of Ethereum, and exactly how governments are going to deal with them. Because think of a world where governments can't track any transactions. They don't know where anything is going, because people are simply just using more cryptocurrencies than anything else. Anyway, I find it myself quite fascinating, and without further ado, let's move on. Next up, smart contracts could soon get a boost in Bitcoin as prominent programmer Peter, I want to say Wally, I never know how to pronounce his name, has unveiled a new coding language designed specifically for their use. Posted to the Bitcoin developer mailing list on Monday, the mini-script language aims to make it easier for programmers to write up smart contracts or conditions for spending Bitcoin. Peter Wily, Andrew Palestra, and Sanket Sanjalkar have been working on the code for roughly a year. Although it's been shared around behind the scenes, Wally says he is now posting. I can feel it in my bones. Every time I read a name incorrectly, people in the comment section make sure that I know that I read it incorrectly, and they'll tell me exactly the way to say it. To be fair, this is not your everyday average last name. There are a lot of vowels in here, and I don't know how to pronounce W-U-N-I and L. I want to say Wiley. Anyway, Wally said he is now posting it to the emailing list because it has now reached a stage where I'd like to get it some more action. Backing up a bit, Script is a smart contracting language in Bitcoin which allows users to specify certain conditions needed to be met before the Bitcoin can be spent. Say funds are locked up until a certain time before they can be spent, or two people need to sign off on a transaction before the money can be moved. A concept called multi-sig. This programmability is novel when it comes to digital money, since before Bitcoin it wasn't possible to implement such rules without trusting a bank or similar type of intermediary in the middle, which is exactly what Swift and many other things are. Here's what the code looks like for those of you who are actually wondering. Here's the mini script code. Beautiful, right? Of course. The point being, for those of you who are new to the game, and everyone should pretty much know this at this point, Bitcoin is slow. Bitcoin is not as robust as many other blockchains. So when it comes to implementations or upgrades on the Bitcoin network, it sometimes, usually always, takes years to kind of implement. So there are developers constantly trying to figure out ways to not make things mini, but make things a bit more easier for the network to process. This apparently seems to be one of them. I wonder, behind the scenes, the podcast I was listening to a couple of days ago, they were talking about the number of active developers on many different cryptocurrency projects. I think on Bitcoin, I think there are around 200 or 300 who are actively working on, like, directly on the code. That's not to say other people who are working on side chains or other layers, so and so, what have you. I think on Ethereum, it's like 100, maybe 50. It's somewhere like fluctuating around the area. Other coins, which I will not name, have like 2 or 3. That's not even joking. And they're coins that I don't like, but I am holding back. Anyway, the point being, I forgot my entire point. Anyway, this is kind of cool. Things like this will take time to implement. I wonder exactly how long. So Bitcoin pretty much is... Bitcoin's the name of the game. I say that all the time. It's because it's true. It doesn't look like any other coin at this moment is going to have the strength to be able to push Bitcoin out of the way. But I wonder how long Bitcoin will be able to survive without any upgrades or any updates. The point I was trying to make is that I'm pretty sure there are other updates and upgrades that are happening behind the scenes, but we never really hear about them anymore. 2017 and beginning of 2018 was a really weird time because we kept on hearing about it was either SegWit, it was either Liquid, and then we got the Lightning Network. But up until then, we haven't really heard about any other major upgrades or anything new that will be coming to Bitcoin, except for Miniscript. Actually, no, we've heard of a couple things over the last couple of months, but it's always like, it's in like the pre-alpha stage, and they're like, maybe at one point, we may decide to potentially think about agreeing on this. And anyway, I'm rambling on. I always wonder what's next for Bitcoin, or exactly how they plan on dealing with a lot of the issues. There's also a lot of talk about people being able to simply run smart contracts and other things, and also even video games potentially on the Lightning Network as it begins to scale a lot more. Could be kind of fascinating. Anyway, let's move on. Tether is once again in the news. Stablecoin operator Tether plans to issue a Chinese yuan-backed stablecoin. Local industry media It says Chain News. I thought it said China News. Forgive me. Chain News reported on the 21st of August. It does look like China News. Bitfinex shareholder Cao Dong informed the outlet that Tether, the stablecoin operator behind USDT, plans to issue a new stablecoin in the near future. It would be backed by the Chinese yuan, held in offshore accounts until under the CNHT ticker. Tao also reportedly said that his digital asset management platform, Renminbi, would be the first to invest in the project. He also pointed out that Tether and cryptocurrency exchange Bitfinex are in a side-by-side relationship and that they have the same management team. Tether has not replied to Cointelegraph's request for an official confirmation at the time of publication. So backing up a little bit, here's the actual article right here. Can't read it. For those of you who can, cool, amazing. Is that it? It's kind of, anyway. Yes, on Chain News. Tether has been pulling some very interesting moves over the last couple of weeks, months. I'm not pretty sure if everyone else is also realizing this. Tether has expanded greatly. I said before in 2018, I thought it was a little odd how large Tether was becoming. We also had a situation before, a couple articles in Bloomberg. You may be able to find them depending on who wrote them. There was an article in Bloomberg, there was an article on CNBC, and an article somewhere else talking about when Tether was being accused of producing Tether or making the actual coin too heavily available, making 100 million of them, whatever, so on and so forth, that they were doing so fraudulently. And we had a situation where many, once again, state leaders, politicians were actually coming forward and they were like, no, we don't think anything's wrong with Tether. And I said, that's really weird because a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, I'm talking too fast, sorry. A lot of people within the cryptocurrency space were doing crypto analytics and they realized or assumed that something could be wrong with Tether based on the amount of action that was happening behind the scenes, if you remember the news. Since then, Tether has launched on EOS. I think they've launched on Tron. I think they're also on top of Ethereum. And I think also one other not obscure crypto, but one that we don't typically hear about that often. They've also launched on top of them as well. I thought this was fascinating because I felt like they were doing this to kind of hedge their bets, i.e., if you fail, but you don't fail, our coin will be fine. So I think what Tether's trying to do is, I feel like behind the scenes, Tether is getting tons of investments because I think everyone else sees where this is going. I think we're still going to have a world where governments try to create their own cryptocurrencies. It's not going to work. They're not going to be interoperable. They're going to have their own blockchains, and it's going to be the exact same system where they need to create something else that is once again an intermediary to be able to send the coins between themselves. And I think this will end up being a 2, 4, 5 tier system where pretty much once again, if you are a less economically stable country and you're trying to get money to Mexico, it'll have to hit this server here and then hit this server here and then hit the server in Europe and then hit the server over somewhere in America before it actually gets to its final destination. I feel like this would be the way that things would go. This is how the world works right now with the current economic system, but I feel like they would be more of a hindrance for countries who are trying to break away from the US dollar and or just trying to not have to deal with people policing themselves if they're their own economically or just sovereign comfort. Like nobody wants to be babied is what I'm trying to get down to. So the fact that Tether has been launching multiple stable coins in multiple different countries around the world, especially if you pay attention to them actually launching a Chinese yuan peg stablecoin, one would assume, as China is typically very stringent on who deals with or deals in or touches their currency, and especially with their capital controls within the country, and especially that we've been getting news and information that the Chinese government has potentially already created their own cryptocurrency or digital currency blockchain network, that it might not be that far-fetched that the people from Tether have probably had discussions with the Chinese government to create a stablecoin that would be pegged to their currency. See where this is going? That could be then used within their country. It's very obvious at this point that the Chinese government is obsessed with cryptocurrency for whatever the reason might actually be, but that they may also be okay with a cryptocurrency that is pretty much their normal currency. Like this is nothing more than a glorified yuan that's just simply digital that could work side by side within the Chinese border. See what I'm saying? It's very interesting what Tether is doing. I think the days of Tether, I don't want to say collapsing, are gone. I thought for a very long time that Tether was a bit too suspicious, odd. Something was up with Tether, that things were going to go awry. I think politicians backing them getting a Chinese pegged coin. I think there's also one for the Australian dollar. There's definitely there's obviously Tether for the US dollar. I think there's one for the euro as well, if I'm not mistaken. And the fact that they keep launching on different blockchains around the world lets me know that they're probably trying to make sure that whatever coin ends up making it, that they're still on top of it, that they are decentralized in some sort of... Anyway, you kind of get what I'm saying. I wonder what the legacy of Tether will look like in about 5 or 6 years. I don't expect stable coins to disappear. I expect a lot of the ones that we have right now to not make it. But I think alongside this world, I think we're going to have way too much backlash from countries who are going to, we have, how governments work, how government leaders work. We can tell them, drink this water, it's good for you, and they'll still just eat dirt just as a way to kind of prove that they're right. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like in the future, regardless of how big Bitcoin, XRP, Ether, Litecoin become, we're going to have a lot of countries who are going to be adamantly against using a cryptocurrency that they don't control. And if you can create something that an entire country can't control, that is pegged to their dying, inflated fiat currency, that they're still going to do so regardless of how big that Bitcoin might become. This is the way that I've kind of viewed things in my mind over the last couple of months. Anyway, that's the Tether news for today. And let us move on. Libra is, of course, every day in the news. At least 3 of Facebook's early backers for its planned Libra stablecoin are considering withdrawing their support in light of the fierce regulatory pushback. A report from the Financial Times on the 23rd of August alleges that 2 founding partners of Facebook's Libra association have held discussions about what their next steps, or their next steps, should be. Okay, that's not a saying. One further, again unnamed, backer is purportedly concerned that their public support for Libra will draw unwanted regulatory scrutiny of their own independent businesses. As previously reported, the Libra Association is the newly established independent governance consortium for Libra. It counts 28 founding members, including Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, eBay, Uber, Spotify, Lyft, each of which, I think also Santander is also part of it, I think, each of which was required to invest, air quotes, $10 million, or pretty much they had to give $10 million directly to Facebook in order to join. In an interview with the Financial Times, one partner noted that, and I do quote, "I think it's going to be difficult for partners who want to be seen as in compliance with their own regulators to be out there supporting Libra," end quote. I don't know. I think this is misdirection. Just going to throw that out there. I'm certain, and it might not be true, this is once again just my opinion. I love how they're even using this image. I assume Libra is still going to launch. Any companies who decide to back out of it are probably just going to be rapidly replaced by any other company who's also okay with spending $10 million to potentially make $100 million a year. This is kind of how I'm looking at it, as I'm pretty sure Libra is going to be fee-based as the transactions are passing through it. I don't expect Facebook to have developed something that is going to be free and or unfee-based. Just going to kind of throw that out there. The point is, I don't know. We had news like this before, that there were a couple of other companies who were talking about that they may not be too keen on continuing working with Facebook, that they may not, or that they may pull out at a certain point. And then Facebook also released that news where they said that no one is being held against their will. If someone decides to leave, so be it. There are, I assume, at least 800 companies on this planet, and governments as well, who would gladly join Facebook's Libra Association consortium, whatever they're trying to build behind the scenes. I We have a couple months left. It's not even like this is going to drag on for a couple of years. By the end of this year, I want to say November, by the end of November, beginning of December, one would assume that as Facebook plans on launching early 2020, that we're going to get a huge amount of news from the people from Facebook about their rollout schedule. I don't think it's going to be a massive all at once. I think it's going to be certain countries at one time. There was also something I was listening to from a politician. He was saying he doesn't assume that Libra is going to launch immediately to 2.4 million people. He thinks it's going to be what's it called? Launching in certain other countries. Remember, I think it was Indonesia we were talking about yesterday, who has had discussions with Facebook about Libra, and they're fairly confident that it's going to be okay. I think it's going to launch in certain countries. I think it's going to launch immediately on Instagram as like a rollout during like the course of a couple of weeks, like most updates. I think it'll happen relatively evenly as well on WhatsApp. I think the thing that's going to shock a lot of people is that they're going to have to do a KYC AML type of thing, which is, I think, to be able to comply with regulators, but another way for Facebook to know that it's exactly you using their, like, imagine in the future where a thing pops up on Instagram and it's like, hey, do you want to use our new coin? You can get 10 of them for free. And everyone's like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Just give us your name, your number, your address, your blood type, how tall you are, so and so and so, and then you're all good to go. People are going to start doing this, but they won't realize that it's just Facebook tracking them across multiple platforms a lot easier. I think the most difficult one will actually be on Facebook. Why? Because people actually use their faces on Facebook. I think it's more of a personal thing, and I think that governments are going to be more scrutinized. They're going to scrutinize Facebook actually allowing people on their own personal platform on Facebook to have to use or integrate cryptocurrency. You understand what I'm kind of saying? I think the integration on Facebook will take a lot longer, but I think as long as Facebook ends up getting out of 2.4 billion users, at least 250 million people having access to their thing, I think that'll be the beginning of I won't say the end. That'll be the beginning of their flourishing as a dystopian currency. You know what I mean. Anyway, to kind of finish things off, sorry for screaming. I feel like I heard the echo in the room as I did that. Consensus, the Brooklyn-based Ethereum blockchain solutions incubator, has launched Daisy, a new platform that enables anyone to accept cryptocurrency for purchases, subscriptions, usage fees, and other payments. Currently in alpha, the platform supports ETH. It says I think that's DAI. It's supposed to be DAI, and I'll explain why in a couple seconds. USDC and dozens of other cryptocurrencies. The company says the tools and infrastructure needed for mass adoption of cryptos are still too rudimentary. And their goal is to break. Why can't I read? And their goal is to break it down for merchants so that they can hop on board. They're also encouraging crypto enthusiasts to be proactive by reaching out to merchants and expressing interest in a crypto payment option. That part is actually true. I mentioned sometime last year as well. For those of you who were here, I'm pretty sure you remember it. We were going over what we could do as a community to be able to increase the adoption of cryptocurrencies. And it pretty much just comes down to just asking your local diner, restaurant, store, if they take cryptocurrencies. They're always almost going to say no. Just explain to them, hey, you can actually download an app and do it, because I'll be willing to pay. Whether you may not be willing to pay or not, it just kind of increases the awareness that there's another way to be able to do this. I don't even know where to begin on this discussion. The point being, Daisy, I'm going to assume, is a competitor to Spedin and Flexa, which is the thing that the Winklevis have created in an effort to try and get more people to be able to use cryptocurrencies for everyday purchases. I assume a lot of these apps are going to continue popping up. Why I thought this was DAI as opposed to AI is because it says DAI right here. I assume they have support for the DAI stablecoin. I don't think there's a coin called AI, and I don't think they meant artificial intelligence in the actual thing. It's very fascinating for a number of reasons. When you talk about the actual usage, that bee is back, slamming into the window, about the usage or use cases of cryptocurrencies, we've entered a very odd impasse in that nobody wants to sell their cryptocurrencies. Nobody wants to give their cryptocurrencies away. People are hoarding and buying their cryptocurrencies And at the same exact time, companies like Consensus, Spedin, Flexa, and any other company who's out there who we just haven't been able to discuss, they're all trying to, wow, my goodness, they're all trying to make sure or find ways for people to actually use their cryptocurrencies on a daily basis. The issue is that nobody wants to use their cryptocurrencies on a daily basis. Everybody's trying to hold them. If we're getting reports or indications or news that Bitcoin could hit 25,000, 50,000, 120,000, 250,000, Bitcoin's going to hit 1 million, Bitcoin will hit 5 million. People kind of, well, maybe I don't really want to sell or use my cryptocurrency for an actual payment. So years ago, it was widely believed that by this point, we would have figured out something to be able to get people to use cryptocurrencies on a daily basis. We have Daisy, we have Spedin, we have Flexa, we have all the other apps and the taps and the dApps and all the other stuff that we can do with our phones, and the scanning of stuff. It's relatively easy to use cryptocurrencies, especially if a company or store is actually accepting them. The difficult part is getting people to use them. Not many people want to use them, and this is why, remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about someone had done the research and they found out that the amount of addresses who are inactive, or people who keep pushing crypto into accounts but no crypto is actually flowing out of it, has increased massively. And this is probably because people are just accumulating and are not really in the mood to kind of spend. So I wonder exactly, when I talk about the use cases or the actual proposed use case for many cryptocurrencies, where they're going, this is why Bitcoin has seen an uptick in the amount of people calling it gold or as a store of value, because people are buying it and storing it and not using it. Therefore, it is seemingly that we're going towards the way of Bitcoin becoming a store of wealth, i.e., if more people keep doing this and there's less Bitcoin going around, the Bitcoin price will go up as there's less flowing around in the ecosystem. Supply and demand, yada, yada, yada. Less Bitcoin, higher price, and therefore Bitcoin's price explodes. But where does that leave the other coins? Other coins are also actually meant to be as a payment option. We've come to the conclusion that 3 to 5 transactions per second on Bitcoin isn't going to really get us anywhere. So what happens to the other coins that are meant to be used as payment options, like ETH, like Litecoin, like Dash, like so and so and so, if no one's using them and the prices don't go up as fast as Bitcoin, where does that leave all the other coins? Not to be a negative Nancy on the altcoin scene, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like certain coins that are meant to be used as payment options will still always be there. We were talking about this yesterday with the back end of XRP being used, et cetera, et cetera. I guess also to a wider extent, also Lumens with the entire IBM project. And also another thing which also could be very fascinating, but I don't know exactly to the extent that it's going to be able to do this. IOTA, with all of their other partnerships that they had with people using their Tango. That's also another back end thing. It's not people having to explicitly use their cryptocurrency, but it's the cryptocurrency being used as payments are being sent. Anyway, I find that very fascinating. We've entered a period of a cryptocurrency where the ease of payments, or wanting to pay with things or pay for things in cryptocurrencies, has become incredibly easy. Wrong with me. Especially, I think it's the What Bitcoin Did podcast. I think that's it. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's What Bitcoin Did. That guy lives his life exclusively on Bitcoin. He gets paid in Bitcoin. He buys things in Bitcoin. He travels the world, making sure that he pays in Bitcoin. So he's found the way that he wants to do things in life. But a lot of other people aren't like that. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating. Anyway, rambling on once again. As always, I guess I didn't sound too bad. I don't think I sounded that sick, or not sick, tired. Just very wiped out. I keep hanging out. I keep thinking I can hang out till like 2 a.m. And I get back home exhausted. I don't sleep well, and life. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Mohair Maroney, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Niels, Woody and Daisy, Triple M and J, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Adobo, Milweezy, JR, Mechanic, Strange Radio Central, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Cryptopolis, Nicholas, One Earth, One Peace, One Love, Damien, Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich III, Vlad the Impaler, Crypto Beer Shipmate, Paxis, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, Jim Gardner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, and Miller Hitch Chest Every Day, and Kyle Skips Leg Day. Thank you very much for your support at the moment. Much of the market isn't green. It's not as green as it could be. Bitcoin is green, but looks like it's going down. It's above 10,000, which is the point that people said that we would dip further down from. The entire idea about a day or two ago is that Bitcoin was around, was it 9,900? It had dipped below 10,000. We were getting calls for an $9,200 Bitcoin, $8,000 something Bitcoin. People were talking about that we would see a $3,000 Bitcoin again. If you think that we're going to see a $3,000 Bitcoin again, the door is right there. I don't know what to even think of telling you. The point is, I also expected a dip. We haven't had one thus far. It seems that 10,000 may be the barrier, the bouncing off point that people don't want Bitcoin to get any lower from. Almost near the $200 once again. Ethereum, Litecoin is going to have a bit of a struggle getting back to $100. I mean, I don't know what's going to cause the market to go back up. Something will eventually cause the market to reignite. But at the moment, it's very lull. I'll be honest with you. It's a very lull market, but at least it's not as, at least we're seeing volatility. There was a period last year. Let me see if I can find a very straight line. Nope, not one around here. There was a point where it was just, we had weeks where it was just going completely sideways. And I don't mean a fake sideways. I mean, Bitcoin was anywhere between 5,000 and 5,200 for weeks. It drove me completely insane. So it's nice to see that we have some bumping up and down, that there's a lot of people in the market who are trading back in Bitcoin back and forth. Bitcoin back and forth. Especially, wow, that is, holy cow. For those of you who are not looking at the screen, that's actually kind of scary. Last night, XRP's trading volume was 1.6 billion. It's at 800 million, so it's been cut in half. Ethereum's trading volume was, I think, 4 billion. It's now at 5.9. Yesterday, I kid you not, I kind of want to look at the chart. Bitcoin's current trading volume is $28 billion. I'm more than certain yesterday it was 16 billion. Hold on a second. Let's see if this actually loads. How do I find the trading volume? If this ever ends up loading. 22nd. Yeah, see around here? I think that's it. No, is that market cap? I can't even tell. That's a shame. The point is, where is it? I have to find it now. I have to find it. I don't think there's a way to see it. Market overview, 7-day exchanges, about, view all. I don't see daily volume anywhere. I'm certain this is a brand new all-time high. I've never seen Bitcoin with $28 billion worth of. I remember telling a friend yesterday. 16 billion. This is all market cap. It has to all be market cap. Add comparisons. Why can't I scroll up? There we go. Exchanges, news, guides. No. I'm going to try and figure this out. The point is, I'm fairly certain that's something incredibly new. I wonder what that's going to actually translate into, because something is going on. What we've typically seen before is that when Bitcoin has an incredibly high volume, that usually a price movement in some direction tends to take place, and it's usually very dramatic. Do you see that? Okay, something's wrong with the website then. It just definitely changed back down to 13. Yeah, I'm not going crazy, right? Okay, good. It's not just me. Something's wrong with the website. Sorry for getting everyone very hyped up. I do apologize. But I mean, come on. To be fair, if you see it was like 16 billion last night and then it goes up to 28 billion, you'd also freak out as well. Anyway, I feel like I may be so tired that I may have just seen those numbers by myself. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I'm pretty sure we're going to get more crazy news as the day ends up going on. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.